You are on nobody's time but God's. Is this thing even on? I'm kidding. Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited for this video because it is New Year's Eve 2025. I'm so excited. Couple of things to ignore up front. My hair, I don't know what I'm doing with it yet. My nails, I did not get all of the bond off from my Gel X. Probably gonna pop some press-ons over top of them. So we'll get that out the way. I figured since we're stepping into 2025 and I'm turning 30 next year, I'm so excited to step into another decade. I wanted to talk about lessons that I've learned or things that I wish I knew in my 20s, because these 20-somethings, man, they are a trip. I don't want to stereotype it, but I feel like easily the hardest, I don't even want to say worst, but hardest decade that we may go through, just because of how much we're evolving and learning things about ourselves and growing. Like, we mature into adulthood through this decade. And we also make a lot of big decisions in this decade, which I kind of have a gripe with, because I feel like we're just too young to be placing so many expectations on ourselves so early on. I feel like first things first is realizing and recognizing that the timeline does not exist. Everything on God's timing. If you can tap into that early on in life, it is going to help you so much. There's so many decisions I've made, so much stress, depression, heartache, just so many things that I put myself through because I was rushing, because I felt like I didn't have enough time. And the world will push you too. The world is always going to make you feel like you're not doing good enough. You're not doing things fast enough. You're not doing enough. Period. So you have to learn to take every thought captive and quiet that outside noise, quiet those voices in your head, those voices on social media, and just do you, lock in with God, do what you're supposed to be doing and what you're feeling called to do, and just let everything else be exactly what it is, noise. You don't have to have it all figured out. I know as soon as we graduate high school, you're pushed to know exactly what major you want to do and what you want to do with the rest of your life. And college, you're picking what you want to do with the rest of your life. And after you graduate college, it's what do you want to do with the rest of your life? And that can be very stressful, especially if you are like, actually don't know. If you go back and watch some of my other Get Ready With Me's, you can see that the past 3 almost years, it's like literally 2 years and 11 months that I was in my last role and my last position, my last job. I was not happy with what I was doing. I was blessed to have income and blessed to have a job, but I wasn't happy with it. And it definitely wasn't what I expected to be doing. And it wasn't what I went to school for. And what I got my degree in is not even what I'm using, and not the degree that I expected to have initially. So it just goes to show you that throughout your 20s, you're learning things about yourself. And also, it's okay to know things that you like. I've always known since I was younger that I wanted a job where I was making some sort of difference, but I wasn't interacting heavily with other people. I didn't want to be in any sort of front-facing role. And though that was my journey and the path that got me to where I'm at, I'm glad that I knew that about myself, because I always was searching for something like the job that I have now. And if I would have given up on that being a possibility and just stepped into doing things that are super social or very customer facing just because it was rare, or just because I was being told that I'm good in that role. I would have stuck with that. And sometimes the things that you are good at and people tell you that you're good at is just not what you want to do. So that's okay. It is okay to forego what people are telling you that you're good at and do the things that actually make you happy, the things that make you feel fulfilled. Because at the end of the day, everyone's comments, everyone's compliments, that's one, not what's going to take care of you financially, and two, not what's going to help you mentally. That's another thing I wish I would have focused on earlier, is mental health. Wow, I wish that I would have started going to therapy much earlier. If I could have started going to therapy, which they had therapy services at my university, and I think I went maybe once. I feel like it wasn't common back then. It wasn't accepted. And I felt weird talking to someone who, in my opinion, was around my age, because at the time I'm like 18, 19, and the person may have been just out of college and they're 24. I didn't think that I could learn anything from someone who was basically just my age, so I stopped going. Big mistake. If I have learned anything, is that being able to share your thoughts with someone else is beneficial. Someone else who genuinely has your best interests at heart. Sometimes a non-biased third party. Doesn't matter how old they are, especially if they're a professional. Use discernment. Don't just tell everybody anything. Sometimes, like I said, third party, it needs to be someone outside of friends and family that you can talk to, that can actually even give you homework and journal prompts and different viewpoints and ways to look at your situation. Someone who can ask you questions, because you just need to think through what you have going on. You don't need possible solutions. You just need a safe space to talk those things out and not feel judged. Someone who can validate your feelings, but then also lead you towards helpful correction. If you can find a therapist that shares your beliefs. My therapist is a Christian woman, and the way that God placed her in my life, she is working, doing his work. Definitely a vessel. Most of the battles that we're going through in life in general are going to be spiritual, mental, and emotional battles. Yes, we go through physical battles too, but those mental and emotional battles, you can often be your worst enemy. So having that firm foundation in God, and then also learning how to deal with those emotions. I had so many crash out periods in my life just because I did not know how to process my emotions about a situation. And everything is a learning lesson, but clearly that did not help. So yeah, healthy communication with others is promoted, but no one really talks about healthy communication with yourself. Being more compassionate towards yourself, allowing yourself to make mistakes, talking through your feelings and emotions, talking through your thoughts and validating them yourself too. All of that you will learn in therapy. I wish I would have started saving earlier on. That's a funny one because every year saving looks a little different for everybody depending on what your financial situation is at the time. Myself included, this year savings didn't really look like much of nothing for me. But I wish that in my earlier 20s, I would have saved more, because not just because of the refund checks, but yes, the refund checks, but also because when you're younger, there's just not so much that you can do. I feel like people are starting to travel a little bit earlier now, but especially when you're like just turning 20, 21, 22, you're so focused on school, if you're in school or trying to get into a career of some sort. I didn't start traveling until I was about like 23 or 24. And a lot of my early 20s, I just spent money on clothes. Spending money on food and clothes, food and clothes, food and clothes. I was not saving any little bit of money that I did have. I wasn't saving. And I just think about all the memories I could have made, more places I could have went had I saved that money to use afterwards. Just like a rainy day fund. I wish I would have kept some sort of vacation fund. I didn't start saving and budgeting until as of recent, literally basically me going into my 30s. And kudos to anyone who got their finances together before this time. I love that for you. But for everyone else who may have, had a little bit of a different journey about that with me, one thing I can say, my mom was very vocal with me about debt and helped me tremendously in not falling into debt. So I didn't have a credit card until basically I graduated, and I wasn't in debt other than student loan debt, but I just wasn't proactively saving, which I'm just learning that it's always good to have some sort of savings for emergencies, for vacation, for home renovation. Anything could pop up. Literally anything could pop up. It is okay to only have friends for a certain season in your life. If you are outgrowing spaces and people and your relationships are just not aligning, you do not have to force it. Ask yourself not only why am I spending time with this person and why do I want to have a relationship with this person, but ask yourself if fruit is coming from that relationship. Like when you're around this person, how does it feel? Do you feel good about this person? Do you feel like this person helps you to be a better person? Like, are y'all both growing to be better people? Or when you get around each other, are y'all just doing foolishness, Especially I feel like in our 20s, it's very, very easy to get caught up in friendships and relationships that are just fun and not edifying. And I'm not saying that edifying relationships can't be fun. They can, but they should be both. They should be edifying and fun. Constantly be evaluating your circle. I wish that, and this is no shade to anyone that I've been around, because I've also been a person that I'm sure people have removed me from their life at times when I haven't been a good influence. It happens. It happens to all of us because we're not perfect and we're all growing. We're all growing at different rates and we're all going through different things in life. So you have to consistently be doing a people audit, just the same way God is checking our heart posture, and we need to be checking our heart posture as well and seeking Him for that pruning and changing. We need to be evaluating our circle, because as much as we like to believe that we can be our own person, that's just not true. It's not true that you can be your own person around a group of people who constantly corrupt your character. It says that in the Bible. Okay, I looked it up. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. So yes, continuously evaluating your circle and just praying on the people in your circle, praying for them, praying for your connection with them, and knowing that it is okay if it's time for y'all to separate and move on from each other. There may be a time in your life where God restores that relationship. I have so many relationships that are proof of that. We needed a break from each other, and when we came back together, we were so much stronger because of the work that God did in us individually, and then He relinked our paths as that third cord. Always remember, a braid is stronger than a twist. A braid is stronger than a twist. Y'all see how my hair is falling apart? Because it's twisted. When it's braided, it's stuck. And that third cord is God. So definitely want Him involved in all of your relationships. I wish I wasn't so focused on boys earlier on, and just focused on myself and my self-worth and growing and maturing and learning myself and realizing that I can learn what I like and what I don't like without having to experience certain things from people. People make it seem like the only way that you know that you don't like to be disrespected is to be in a disrespectful situation, and then you realize, oh, actually this isn't for me. But when you work on self-love and find your identity in Christ earlier on, you just learn how to treat people and therefore how you should not be treated. And I just feel like there's so many situations that I put myself in or was involved in my 20s that taught me things that I really didn't have to learn, TBH. Things that on the surface kind of sound self-explanatory, but we live in a culture that accepts and promotes toxic relationships. That is cute, and it's not at all. I wish I would have started learning to manage stress a bit better back then too, and to not crutch on things, to not crutch on people, situations, relationships, alcohol. I feel like that's very common, especially in the early 20s, like early to mid 20s, that young professional age where businesses start to target, because nobody talks about this. I feel like it's a little controversial actually, but I don't care because I've had my personal experiences with it. Back in the day, I couldn't tell you, I'm saying back in the day because I couldn't tell you exactly which time frame this was, but back when they used to glamorize cigarettes and make it cool or sensationalize and glamorize cigarettes as a way to unwind after a long day, or have a cigarette in the club, or have a cigarette at a lounge, or just anything like that. They marketed it for it to be fashionable. Even in Sex and the City, like Carrie Bradshaw, like it was glamorized, it was promoted. Same thing with alcohol. Alcohol is promoted. Happy hour is literally 5 to 7 or 4 to 6 or whatever times around the times that many professionals get off of work, that the first thing that you should be doing after that is something to drink. And that's so common, and I feel like I fell into that by associating having a drink with winding down and being a stress reliever, instead of, like, I don't know, journaling or listening to some music or praying and talking to God and getting in my Bible or anything else. I just wish that I would have done that a little earlier in my 20s. Now it has been over a year that I have not drank liquor. I'll still do wine, beer, champagne, low alcohol content beverages, but hard alcohol and liquor I no longer do, which is a whole praise report and testimony, because I remember talking to y'all about this, saying that I wanted to stop drinking, and God heard that, and he heard those prayers, and he delivered me from that, because I did not do that on my own strength, let me tell you. I also wish I started denying my flesh earlier, which I, of course, would have loved to give my life to Christ earlier on in my life. I've always had Christianity surrounding me because I was raised Christian, but I did not have a personal relationship with Christ. So, of course, I would have wanted to have tapped in with him earlier. Granted, I know that that is not my testimony, but aside from that, I still could have learned to say no to myself. Like, that is denying the flesh. When you want to have that extra piece of pizza and you're like, look, I know I don't need this, I'm actually full and I'm just being greedy, denying the flesh, denying self. Look, I know I have something else to do. I got to get up early in the morning for work, but this guy just invited me over and I really want to see him. Deny the flesh. You got something else to do. I know that I need to post a YouTube video, but Love Island is on and I kind of want to binge 3 episodes. And by the time I'm done binging, I probably won't feel like editing. Deny the flesh. You got something else to do. So many ways that you can deny yourself things, you know, and be better at managing time. I wish that someone told me that if I could get time management down, that it would save me so much strife in adulthood. Adulthood is just all time management. Everyone's time management is going to look different depending on their individual situation. If they are married, if they have kids, if they have a 9-to-5 that they actually work at, if they work from home. All these different factors make a difference in determining what your time management looks like, because some people have a more flexible schedule than others. So you can't even really take advice from other people. That's why I'm not really giving advice on like, oh, do this to better manage your time. I don't think there is a such thing. You genuinely have to figure it out for yourself, because you also need to figure out, okay, what is the time that I like to give to God? And what's the time that I like to just spend with myself? What time works best for me to budget? And just like all of these different things. It's just so specific and variable depending on your situation. Something that is common no matter what is that most of us don't do it well. We all figuring it out. So that time management is gonna change as you change and as your schedule changes, as your situation changes. Something that worked for me 5 years ago, time management guys, isn't gonna work for me now. So it just needs to be a priority. It just needs to be something that you continue to check in with. And the same way you're reevaluating your circle, just be reevaluating, how am I managing my time right now? Am I using my time in the best way possible? At the end of the day, you are on nobody's time but God's. And so we just need to be reminded that no, we're not in a rush. Like, you don't have to rush to figure things out. However, you only have a certain amount of time on this earth to fulfill the purposes and plans that God has for you. I'm gonna say that again. To fulfill the purposes and plans that God has for you. Not that you have for you, that God has for you. You don't want to act like you have all the time in the world and waste time, because our time is limited. We have a ticking clock on all of our lives, and everyone's expiration date is something different, and we don't know what that is. So you just want to be treating your time as precious as it is. You'll look back on your life and be like, you know what? I didn't do everything I wanted to do, but I did everything that I felt like I needed to do and everything that I could. And I'm proud of myself, you know, and I'm proud of not wasting the time that was given to me. And that is more important. And did you glorify God in that time? That's more important than what you actually did, is how you went about it. I would have been way more focused on passion projects, being more creative. My 20s, I was so focused on trying to make money and trying to make money and trying to make money. And instead of just learning creative tasks and trades and focusing on things that I'm passionate about and taking risks, you know, and feeling like this is the only life we get, and pouring into YouTube or whatever, I just kept following the mold instead of focusing on what I was personally interested in. Those desires that you're personally interested in, especially the ones that you feel convicted about, that you prey on and you can't let go of, because I tried to let go of certain desires, like for instance YouTube. I've tried to let go of it for years, not because I didn't want to do it, but because it's a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of work. And I never had a flexible schedule where I could really pour into it the way that I wanted to. So I didn't want to have this desire, I guess, give me an excuse as to why I couldn't do it, because I didn't have the time. And God kept confirming to me and placing it on my heart and being like, nope, 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 nope. Even though you don't have time, do it. Even though you don't have time, do it. Even though you're tired, do it. Even though you're changing, do it. Even though you don't know where you want to take this, just continue to do it. And there were a lot of times that I paused, but thanks to God, I never stopped, because he continued to give me that conviction and that drive. But even though he was doing that, I should have started earlier. Like, you know, I should have, or not should have, I would have liked to start earlier, and I would have liked to pour more into it. Just the most energy you're gonna have. Cause, you know, as we get older, you know, sometimes like we lose that energy, or we just don't have the schedule for it. And I had a lot of times where nobody expects anything from you, especially in your early 20s. Like, take advantage of that. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of the time when no one is asking you anything. They're just asking you how you are and how you're doing and what you're doing. They're not asking you because they know you're still figuring it out. So take advantage of that and be young and do what you want to do. That is one piece of advice that I have been given by everybody older than me ever. And I never took it. And I wish that I would have. And if I could go back and do life all over again, I would be taking my 20s by the horns and doing everything that glorifies God, if I can, that I wanted to do for my personal growth. I wish I knew that insecurity wasn't a bad thing, that insecurity wasn't something that I had to hide, that it's just something, it's almost like a feeling. It's like, it's something that we all have, and everybody's is different, and that I didn't have to go through so much of my 20s trying to hide those insecurities or mask those insecurities, and I could actually just work on them. And it didn't make me a bad person to have insecurities. Everybody has insecurities. I would have focused on community more and building connections and actual connections versus networking. Unpopular opinion, and I know that everything is technically networking, but I feel like we're taught how to network and we're not taught how to relate to people. We should be relating to people to help each other, making connections with other humans as humans to help each other and build community that is long lasting. Learning about the person, learning about their drive, their desires, their passions, their fears, deep connections. And of course, every person that you meet, there's a setting and a time and a place. You're not going to automatically jump into that with them, and some people you may not be able to get that deep. We're all going through silent battles. Everyone is going through something every day, so you never know, you know, and just being kind, you never know what someone is going through. And the way that we could relate to each other if we started to get to know each other on a deeper level and actually genuinely wanting to know how someone is. Not just networking, conversing with that person, checking in on them, actually being concerned and having a greater emotional capacity, which is something that God is working on in me right now. Having a greater emotional capacity to be like, I'm actually really interested to know how you're doing and do you need anything? And that doesn't have to be creepy. It's only creepy because we're not used to doing it. In our society, we are used to just having very surface level interactions with people, especially now after COVID and quarantine and everything. We are so used to just like not having genuine interactions with people. Everything is so template. Everything is so robotic. We need to get back to really checking in on each other. And when we check in on each other, helping each other. Okay, I'm gonna go get dressed, try to do something to my hair really quick, and then I will be back. So I forgot to film an outro as I was rushing out the house, but I just wanted to thank you guys so much for tuning into this video, let you know that I love you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.